Hello, 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 everyone, and welcome to another edition of Ahysen Nation. Come on in. How are you? Wet day today. This is Tuesday, and we got a lot of rain coming down in the area. And I got to tell you, it's just not going to be pretty for a couple of days, from what I understand. So make sure you have the WAFB weather app with you, and you can punch that in. It's got some traffic information at the bottom. As you make your way in and around, please be careful. And remember what I told you this morning, and what I've always reminded you about, Plaquemine Sunshine Ferry Boat quite often goes out of service when the weather gets really bad, and we expect that will happen off and on today and in the next couple of days as this, I'm watching it below the camera that I'm looking at, and it's just right here upon us. So please be careful if you're out and about. Hey, I was so sad to see this yesterday. Did you see this yesterday? They are taking down the Cortana Mall. They're just taking it all down, and a lot of us worked there in the 70s and 80s. I did some work there for Joseph and Hans Sternberg at Godshaw's back in the early 80s. It was fantastic. I was in men's sportswear, and they were absolutely some of the best people to work for in the world. And now all of that's coming down. So we saw that history-making event as we watched all that come down yesterday. And they're still in the process of the destruction, so things like that. We have a very special guest. He was not able to join us live due to prior commitments. But here on the Ahysen Nation today, he officially becomes part of the Ahysen Nation. Samantha Morgan said that, so I had to repeat it. Here in our office, Governor John Bel Edwards. Yesterday, you may have seen the press conference on the steps of the Capitol. He declared yesterday as Red Beans and Rice Day here in Louisiana. Has some three great sponsors, and he agreed to visit with us on Zoom earlier in the late last week, as a matter of fact. So let me welcome John Bel Edwards to the Ahysen Nation. Welcome, sir.
Thank you, Johnny. It's great to be with you.
Oh, bless your heart, Governor. I appreciate you doing this, taking some time out of your busy schedule. Okay, so yesterday, March 22nd, was Red Beans and Rice Day at your declaration. Tell me about that.
Well, I was asked to do it, and it took me about a half of a second to agree because I actually like red beans and rice, and I typically eat them on Monday. And really, it's one of my favorite meals, has been all of my life. And so when I was asked about making March 22nd Red Beans and Rice Day in the state of Louisiana, I jumped on it, and happy to do it. And really, I know it's lighthearted and so forth, but it really does speak to Louisiana and to one of the traditions here that sort of makes us special. And for those people who, I don't think there can be many in Louisiana who haven't had red beans and rice. Hopefully they enjoyed them yesterday, and if not, they'll enjoy them in the near future.
A couple of sponsors, Cajun Country Rice, Camellia Brand, and Savoy Foods. How important are these organizations to our state?
They really do help to continue the traditions that have been enjoyed in Louisiana for a very, very long time. So, for example, and I'm not trying to play favorites among my sponsors, but my mother cooked red beans and rice every week, and she would only use Camellia dried red beans. And so, as a result, all of her children, and by the way, there were 8 of them, there's still 7 of us alive, we still use that brand. Brand loyalty was developed, but it's really important to have these sponsors in Louisiana, so that the tradition continues, that the cuisine, moves forward from one generation to the next without interruption, and then also, as I mentioned before, from an economic development perspective as well.
Growing up in and around the Amite area, did you guys have specific meals on specific days? Like Monday was red beans and rice, Tuesday was something else growing up?
Well, Johnny, I will tell you, we had red beans and rice every week, but it wasn't on Monday. My mother was an emergency room nurse at the Charity Hospital in Independence, and she worked Monday through Friday, and so she would cook red beans and rice on Saturday, but we always had them on Saturday, and almost always with fried pork chops and cornbread. And today, I can tell you, my favorite red beans and rice, like most people's, are my mama's. And I look forward, now that I'm fully vaccinated, as of yesterday, she's fully vaccinated. I told her on the phone the other day, I said, Mommy, your first request from me is let's cook a pot of red beans and rice so I can come over and have a wonderful lunch with you.
That is so cool. Well, I've had my first shot. I get my second shot next week, and that's my mom is in Texas, still very healthy and very much alive. And that's the first thing I told her. She's been vaccinated with both shots. I said, I need to come home and get a home cooked meal, and that's the first thing I'm doing as well. That's awesome.
Absolutely, and everybody has their own twist on red beans and rice. Do you make it with ham hocks or sausage or both? And is it creamy or is it not? And look, I love them every way I've ever had them, but there's no doubt in my mind the best pot of red beans and rice are the ones that my mama makes.
Well, maybe not specific meals on specific days, but did she cook fried chicken on a certain day or chicken liver on a certain day? And were there any meals that you did look forward to or maybe dreaded growing up?
Ronnie, there was never a meal that I dreaded. They were all good. And like I said, we had a big family. So between my mom and dad and me and my siblings, there were always 10 of us at the table growing up. The one rule she had was you ate whatever she cooked. So I understood that from very early on, and I enjoyed it all. And I will tell you that everything that she cooked was always really, really good. And it wasn't just red beans and rice, but she cooked from scratch. And how she did it, I'll never know, because she would come home and cook scratch meals Monday through Friday after work, but they weren't the meals that required several hours, in order to get them done. But they were always delicious, and I don't know how she did that. Now that I'm an adult, married with kids of my own and so forth, I just don't know how she did it, but I have profound respect for her and love, as we all should, for our parents.
You got a couple of minutes for me to shoot a couple of other questions at you real quick?
Absolutely.
When you were in the military, you obviously one of the many things that you did, thank you so much for your service, by the way, was parachuting, jumping out of an airplane.
So I was able to go to airborne school while I was still at West Point, and then when I was commissioned an officer and assigned to the 82nd Airborne Division, of course that's airborne, it's in the title of the division. You jump out of airplanes, and I was able to do that for a living. It's an interesting way to make a living, I'll say.
Would you do it again for fun now?
Yeah, I would do it again, but I would not jump as part of a military operation. No, those are different parachutes. Well, typically you jump at about 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning. The parachutes, you can't really steer and guide them the way that you can recreational jumping. And they deliver you to the ground a little faster and a little harder than recreational parachutes. So I would do it again, but I would want to make sure that it was a civilian application of that and not the military version.
What about your kids? If any of them came and said, Dad, I want to parachute, I want to go jump, would you have any reservation?
None of them have come to me and told me that in the least bit interest them, and I'm not pushing them either.
What do you do to keep in shape? You're in such great health, and as I'm aging, and I think I'm young, I'm a little older than you, but what do you do as an adult with the schedule you have? Because you're the governor of the greatest state in the country, so that you've got to be almost as busy as me. What is your regime?
I'm probably not quite as busy as you, Johnny, but the last year, first of all, it's been a wonderful experience for me over the past 5 years plus to be governor of the great state of Louisiana. I'm always inspired by the goodness and decency of our people, but it's been a challenging period too. From the budget deficit and the floods of 2016, the multiple hurricanes. Last year alone, 3 hurricanes, and during a pandemic, and then already a winter storm, the likes of which we haven't seen in decades here in Louisiana in 2021. So it is challenging. I will tell you, we work long hours, and that helps me to keep the weight off. Although I didn't realize I was doing it. I did gain a few extra pounds over the course of 2020. I guess it had something to do with the COVID environment. And I'm making it my business to get rid of those now. But I love to hunt. I love to fish. I love to do anything outdoors. We garden. We have chickens and those sorts of things. And then I'm fortunate enough to have a treadmill at the governor's mansion that I'm able to exercise on as well. So, and then I have a wife who pushes me, Johnny, to do those things. So I'm very fortunate in that regard too.
Well, you're still getting the hunting and fishing in, which is one of your passions. I remember from an earlier interview you did with us years ago. Speaking of the First Lady, I was privileged to sit at the head table with her as the Master of Ceremonies for an event that she was the keynote speaker at several years ago, well before the pandemic. It was had to do with volunteers in schools, and she's obviously quite passionate about that. And I miss doing that. How has she been, and when do we get to see her some more?
Well, she is still working actively in support of the causes that she's adopted as First Lady, and they typically involve education, especially on music, art, and movement. You know, she was a music teacher at Amite Elementary School in Tangipahoa Parish, and before she became a teacher, I will tell you there wasn't a parent anywhere around who volunteered and spent more time at the school than she did. So all of these things are very close to her heart because they involve our children. But she also is working on human trafficking prevention and awareness issues. She keeps busy, and I will tell you that she looks forward to kind of emerging again and becoming more visible and being able to go out and be physically present in more places and in more events, and which hasn't been possible because of COVID. But she looks forward to that. But I will assure you, she's been working at the governor's mansion every day during COVID, still advancing those causes that are so important to our state.
Well, now that we're all getting vaccinated, you gotta make a promise that you'll come down and have coffee in person with us like you used to before the pandemic.
I am happy to do that, so long as we don't break the CDC rules. So the people having coffee with me, we need to be all fully vaccinated, and we can gather in small numbers and not worry about masks, not worry about distancing. But that's only true if everybody in that space there is fully vaccinated, which is, I want to make another pitch to people of Louisiana. We have 3 safe and effective vaccines. Please be vaccinated as soon as you are able to get access to the vaccine. This is how we put the pandemic behind us. It's how we save lives and protect ourselves and our families. And you protecting people that you don't even know. That's the nature of a pandemic. If you get the coronavirus, if you get COVID, you don't know who you spread it to, and you can never know. But you do know whether you're doing everything possible to minimize that chance. And certainly the vaccination is a big part of that.
Now, thank goodness, though, it didn't hit your household, did it?
No, it did not. My son, but he had moved out to go to college, and he just didn't come home for 6 weeks. And as is most often the case with people his age, it was a rather uneventful course of COVID, lost sense of taste and smell, but nothing worse than that. And thank goodness. But that's not always the case. You know, there are some young people who have very serious cases of COVID. Some even die, and then you have certain syndromes that have developed among even younger people. But we've been very fortunate. I will tell you, up to now, I was never even considered a close contact to someone who developed COVID because of the mitigation measures and the restrictions that we put in place here in the governor's office. I wear my mask all the time. I don't get within 6 feet of people for more than just a few seconds. And so even though there were numerous people over the course of the year in my office who contracted COVID, that I was never determined to be a close contact and even have to quarantine. I'm very thankful for that.
Boy, if that isn't a commercial for the fact that these work, I don't know what is, because they do.
Absolutely. And while we wait our turn to be vaccinated, you make a great point, Johnny. We need to wear the mask, especially with the variant out there. The B.1.1.7 UK variant is more easily transmitted, and it is more viral, meaning if you get it, you're more likely to have a serious case of COVID that requires hospitalization or could result in death. And so while we speed the vaccinations, we also have to make sure we're minimizing the spread. And the next month or 6 weeks are just going to be absolutely critical, because hopefully we're going to get to a tipping point, and when we get on the other side of it, we just don't have to worry about surges anymore. Now, there's still going to be individuals out there who are going to have things that they need to do because we're going to leave the pandemic and it's going to become endemic, sort of like the flu. And so coronavirus, COVID is going to be with us for a long time. The vaccination will give way to annual boosters, for example. But we shouldn't have the same number of people suffering from the disease or being hospitalized or dying. But we're not at that tipping point yet. The analogy I like to use, Johnny, is we have to run all the way through the base. And so if you ever played baseball or softball, you know what I'm saying, is you got to run as fast as you can from the batter's box to touch first base before the ball gets there. And we're not there yet. We're about 3/4 of the way. We can't start jogging right now.
Wow, great point. I've kept you long enough. We've had a lot of fun. Is there anything else you want to? A great one in Billy Nungesser, by the way.
Yeah, and Billy and I get along well, and he has been a good partner. Just getting back to Red Beans and Rice Day, I would encourage people, if you haven't enjoyed them in a while, eat them when you can, and certainly look forward to next Monday, because traditionally that's the day that we do that. And you know, the very first night in the governor's mansion, my staff came to me and they asked me the sort of meals that I like to eat and what schedule I wanted to be on. The only thing I put on the schedule was red beans and rice on Mondays. And I've had red beans and rice every Monday since. And of course, they do a great job there too. But I'm encouraging the people of Louisiana to make sure that they're enjoying this as well, because they are absolutely delicious and healthy as well.
You're a great leader and a great friend, Governor John Bel Edwards. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Johnny.
Take care. What a fun interview. What a fun visit with our governor. And he mentioned the vaccines, and there's a lot of controversy about the vaccines, but I'm staying out of all of that. I did get it. I don't know if you can see my little pin. And I mentioned on the interview that next week I'm getting my second vaccine. Well, we talked to the governor last week, so next week is this week, and I've already gotten it. So I've gotten both of my vaccines, and I am ready to get to Texas and see Mom. A couple of comments if you're watching on YouTube. First of all, if you're watching on YouTube, subscribe. Like, make sure you hit the buttons to make get an alert on your phone when we go live. Let's see, Alana O'Mara, I hope I say that right, Alana O'Mara. What is this? Never heard of the show? Well, if we're brand new, it's WAFB Plus, one of our new platforms to stay connected with you. And we do this my particular version, the Ahysen Nation, every Tuesday morning at 11. So make sure you tune in for that. Let's see some of our other comments. Oh, yes. She says, worked for Cortana Mall for many years. Dolores Stewart. Dolores, Godshaw's was the first store open. In fact, they were brilliant when they did that. They opened the mall. They were still building the mall when they opened Godshaw's. So people could go shopping at Godshaw's, and they went in and out, Godshaw's only, because all of the other mall entrances were still being worked on at the time. This is back in the late 70s, 78, 79, 78, I believe it was. And then when the mall opened, folks were so accustomed to going in and out of the mall at the Godshaw's entrance, that's the first store they went to. So a high percentage of people that went to the mall entered the mall at Godshaw's because of that. So that is absolutely a good story there. Dolores Stewart, I wonder if we worked there at the same time. I was there 80, 81, 82, something like that. Thanks, Governor John Bel Edwards. We love you. Good. Lots of wisdom and knowledge to learn from Mom. Beverly Julian. Beverly Julian said that. Let me tell you, you're 50, Beverly, so you're still a young pup. But there is a lot of information to learn from our moms. And don't ever miss a day without talking to your mother. My mother is in Beaumont, Texas. She's a very healthy 86. And I called her one day. I had just had a birthday, and I was feeling kind of down in the dumps, a little midlife crisis or whatever. And my mother said, now at 86 years old, she's still teaching. She said, let me tell you something, young man. Don't ever call and complain to me about getting old, because getting older is a privilege denied many. And that just hit me like a ton of bricks. So, I mean, even, at 50 years old, you're 50 and you're still learning from your mom. We have a lot to learn from our mom. Don't ever miss a day without calling, talking to your mother. If your father's still alive, my father passed away a while back, and that was hard. But Melissa Sanchez says moms are so special. Yeah, absolutely. Don't ever miss a day without talking to your mother. Lots of great comments. Thank you all for joining us on the Ahysen Nation. I'm going to cut loose just a little bit early. I'm watching this weather system move through here. Steve Caparata and Jeff Morrow and Jay Grimes are all keeping you up on what's going on with this weather, and it looks like we're beginning a pattern of 3 or 4 days of wet. Hopefully by the weekend. I know there's a lot of Easter egg hunts going on this weekend, so hopefully by the weekend some of these fields that we're going to be doing some Easter egg hunting in will be drying out, but I'm not quite sure about all that. So what we need to do is pay attention to Steve Caparata, Jeff Morrow. We have Jay Grimes later this evening as well. And keep up with that with the WAFB 9 News and WAFB First Alert Weather app. The weather app's a very, very valuable tool, and it also has some traffic information on it. So I'm going to cut loose a few minutes early. We do this every Tuesday, Ahysen Nation, 10 to 10:30. So we're going to cut loose a little early, make sure we have room to get in there some weather information if that thing starts getting a little ugly. And if you are out and about, be safe. If you're going to be out and about, be safe. And remember, headlights on when you have your wipers on. That's a Louisiana law, and I see a lot of times the headlights aren't on, so make sure you do that for safety reasons, see and be seen. And a lot of heavy rain shower obviously decreases the visibility. So go get your shot and join us again for all of our newscasts. Check out all the programming on WAFB Plus. We have so much to offer on multiple platforms, not just in the way of news, weather, traffic, and sports information. Sure, we can give you all that, but also some lighter stuff and some entertaining things. And we try to do that here every Tuesday at 10 o'clock with Ahysen Nation. So until tomorrow morning, when I will see you live on 9 News this morning, make sure you check out all of our newscasts. We'll pop in live and on all of our platforms if weather becomes an issue. And if you are out and about, please be careful. Noon, 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock, our hour-long 6 o'clock news, and then 9 News at 10. So make sure you join us then. Thanks for the great comments. We'll see you tomorrow morning. Bye.